Welcome to episode 252 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my guest this week, returning back to the show, Mike Potter. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, Dave. How are you? Always great to be on your show. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Always great to have you, and lots of good fun stuff to talk about. And Ben Roethig's back. He was a little under the weather last week. I'm glad he's back. And
actually, last week I was at a film festival.
Oh, you were at the film festival. That's right. I got confused with this week.
Yeah, it's under the weather Tuesday for Chuck's show.
That's right. Well, either way, welcome back. We missed you. And last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet is back. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right. I am not under the weather, and sadly, I did not have a film festival to partake in this past week. I feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah, that was we saw some of Ben's posts. He looked like he was having a good time.
It looked like a really great time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So this week, as we record, it never fails when Apple announces their quarterly results. It happens less than 2 to 3 hours before we record the show. So, but why not? Let's talk about it anyway, even though most of us probably haven't looked at it closely, as I was working late as well. So I just happened to just look at it within the last 40 minutes. So, but that's okay. We'll get through it and have it's like a reaction time episode, right, Mike? We'll just be reacting as we read it. So
absolutely.
So lots of other great news. I'm going to talk a little more about CarPlay that's been in the news this week, as well as all other fun things. Let's just be surprised, right? So talking about that breaking news is the quarterly results. I always we always give full credit. That's where the credit is due to Jason Snell and Dan Morin. Jason does an amazing job putting together all these graphs about the quarterly results. So let's sum it up. They had $94.8 billion in revenue, and it was better than expected. Mac, of course, was to be expected, was down 31% to $7.2 billion. That was the lowest quarter of Mac since revenue since 2020. iPad was down about 13% to $6.7 billion, the lowest iPad revenue quarter since 2020. But two things that were up: iPhone, which is not surprising, at 2% at $51.3 billion, which gave the downward trend elsewhere, which was pretty impressive for a quarter to record for iPhone revenue. But the big thing was services. Services soared to an absolute all-time record high of $20.9 billion. That's up 5%. And wearables was down about 1% at $8.8 billion. So we got charts they've gone through below here. Versus the first quarter versus second quarter. Yeah, no surprise that things dropped a little bit. The Mac area is pretty saturated right now. They're in kind of a transition with the M2, with the M1, M2 that happened. But now we're still waiting for new machines in Macs. We want iMacs. We don't have any iMacs that are out there just yet. And then they're also been talking about the M3s. Who knows what's going to happen with the Mac Pro, if ever. So, Mike, you the Mac guy of the panel here. What is your thoughts as you've just finding out about these numbers on the Mac?
Well, I mean, I'm not terribly surprised. I mean, we've been hearing that Mac sales were down. Mm-hmm. In fact, we talked about this just very, very briefly for Mac OS only last week, because we were talking about someone who's new to the Mac, or someone who has had another Mac for many, many years and is looking to get one of the new Apple Silicon Macs. What should they get? That was our conversation. Right. And at one point I had said, hey, look at the iMac. It was last updated in 2021. What the heck is holding Apple up? Why is this not on an M2? I mean, we may be waiting for an M3, but why is this not on an M2? Gosh darn it. And as I said in the show, the iMac to me is Apple's flagship desktop. That when someone thinks about Apple, when they think about the Mac, I picture an iMac, or I picture a classic Mac. I don't picture a Mac Studio or a Mac Mini. I picture this thing that has come to be known as the iMac ever since Jobs reintroduced it in 97. So to not keep that up to date, I think is a little bit of a shame. And for folks like us who are, seeing what else is coming out, we're asking, why not an M2? What kind of engineering challenge could they possibly have that they can't put the M2 in the iMac? Other than that, though, just today, I helped someone buy an iMac. I told him that, we don't know. We never know what's coming. There may be a new one coming this summer. There may be a new one coming this fall. But he was running a 2013. Anything he gets is going to run circles around what he has right now.
Absolutely.
So he's going to be very, very, very happy with this iMac. So this is coming from the viewpoint of someone who has a little bit different opinion on what should be in my Mac when I put it on my desk.
Right.
But I don't know. I think maybe people are just waiting to see what's coming and not necessarily rushing out and buying. And interestingly, I'm sorry, Dave, I didn't mean to interrupt, but interestingly, he asked if Amazon sells these iMacs, is what he said. Does Amazon sell them? And I said, well, let's look. Almost every single model is listed as out of stock.
Wow.
If that doesn't tell me that something new is coming soon, I don't know what does. Sure, we could buy it direct from Apple, but Amazon, not through Apple's official store on Amazon, there wasn't 3/4 of them in stock. That seems odd to me.
Yeah.
And so I think people are just waiting. And that, when that new iMac comes out and the other models are updated, I think we're going to see a surge in Mac sales again.
No, I agree. Do you guys have anything to add about Macs before we move on?
Yeah. We saw really, really good sales with the M1 generation.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking, both iPads and Macs, so I'm thinking most of the people that were looking to upgraded during the M1 generation. And then with the M2 generations, you kind of had the 2019 last generation Intel stragglers like Jeff get on board.
Like me.
Yep.
I can tell you this, I'm perfectly happy with this. M1 MacBook Pro. It's going to be maybe the M4 before I even consider upgrading.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think there were enough people left to upgrade. And I think that also might be the reason why they didn't upgrade the iMac. Is because all the people that were looking for the base iMac at that point already upgraded, and there's not the replacement for the 27 or the Pro.
Yep.
I think the replacement for the 27 is that Mac Studio.
Yeah.
We're not going I don't think we're ever going to see a 27-inch iMac again.
I'm with you on that. Yep.
I agree.
Apple laptops sell better than desktops. Therefore, the newer upgrades will go there. My guess is that Apple still hasn't taken iMac to the M2 because, they have all the data and we don't, so we can only speculate.
Yeah.
So, and I'm prefacing this with, I am not saying that iMac sales have tanked. So iMac sales do not have the numbers that Apple has as a threshold to say we need to update the model to an M2. However, with Mike saying that the iMacs are all showing out of stock on Apple's Amazon store, that tells me that whatever they have decided is a valuable upgrade to the iMac is coming very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you can get pink though. If you want pink, you can get that.
Yeah.
Hey,
good.
Yeah,
great.
that was on there.
Yeah.
Why not?
So Christina Warren, if you want an iMac, your color is available.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think she's known that for a while. I don't know if she ever got one, but all right. So let's kind of move on. I guess.
I'm feeling pretty stellar.
Oh boy.
Because it's Star Wars Day.
Look at that.
Hey, aren't we all feeling good because it's Star Wars Day?
Yes, and I forgot to say that. That was the A lady that picked that up for some reason. Yeah, may the 4th be with you. that was not planned.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Your Force Spirit.
And my Force Spirit and Grogu sitting right next to me here.
So say we all.
Yes.
Engage.
Engaging. Right. I'm going to engage now. Oh yeah. By the way, Apple just made a mere 24.3 billion in profit. So I think they did okay.
Yeah.
Again, we said iPads were down a little bit. That wasn't surprising, but iPhone revenue will continue to stay strong. I think Apple knows that their iPhone business is 54% of their business, and you can't ignore that. And you see that out there in the world. I mean, the world still has a pretty much dominance of Android, but the United States, I think it's pretty well dominant with the iPhone, honestly. Yeah. We're not all surprised that's happened. And like I said, we got the link in the show notes to Steve to 6 Colors, and they have their great charts that Jason Sell puts together. But the great thing to look at is services. Services continue to expand. The Apple bundle we've talked about many times. That people are really locked into that. And I'm a happy bundle customer. I mean, I pay $32 a month for it, but you know what? I'm also sharing it with family. They're getting to enjoy all the products that are available in that bundle. So that's why the services are doing so well. That and I will talk about Arcade a little bit later. There's some improvements in more games than ever in that platform. Jeff, you got any comments about services where these numbers are? I'm not all surprised.
I'm not surprised at all. And I think this underscores how smart Apple's leadership is, because even though the iPhone is the foundation of revenue for the company today, they know it won't always be that way. So before that became a problem, they found a new revenue stream that can become that foundation. So whenever the iPhone tapers off, services is already there and strong. Also, I think after this quarter's numbers, I'm comfortable saying that services doesn't follow Apple's hardware cycle for trends. So Q2, which is always lower compared to other quarters for hardware sales, that's not something that services is locked into.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and by the way, Apple did announce during the results that they have got almost hit over 1 billion. That's with a B, active subscriptions. So, Mike, you have any comments on services?
No, I'll happily pay $6.99 a month for the quality content I'm getting on Apple TV Plus. Quite frankly, yeah. That's the most valuable service that they offer to me. I really love the shows that I'm watching on there. We pay $2.99 a month for iCloud, family sharing. 250 gig for $2.99, and we pay separately for Apple TV Plus. But I don't use any of the others. I don't have any need for the music or for fitness or for what else? What am I missing?
News
Arcade,
News Plus, and Arcade, right?
I don't have any use for any of that. So I don't see buying the bundle personally, but I happily keep it. They said they were going to raise the price by $1. I said, sure, go ahead. I love it. Keep producing that quality content, and I'll keep paying for it.
There you go.
I agree. That any your thoughts from you, Ben, before we move on?
First, speaking of Apple TV Plus, I'm really intrigued by Silo, which is coming out tomorrow.
Oh, I got to watch that.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing.
Wait, what show?
Silo. It's a post-apocalyptic show where they have been in a silo, and it's but anyway, based on the performances of the services division, I would not be surprised if once Tim Cook finally retires, Eddie Q is a strong contender for CEO.
That's a bold announcement there. So that's great to see. Services are continuing on, and I think it's going to continue to grow with the future of Apple and all that. So you can take a look at all the rest of the numbers. Like I said, wearables were down a little bit, and here's also some little nifty graphs in there. But that was the gist of the announcement for this week. I don't think we need to really spend a ton of a ton of time in it. But 54% is the iPhone, 22% is services, and then the rest of the pie makes up of everything else. Wearables 9%, Mac is 8%, iPad is 7%. So they got a nice portfolio going right now. I think Apple with all of their products, and the strongest I've seen and probably ever at this point.
Yeah.
But check that out. So next story here, after about the first week, that the savings account that was announced, we talked about this last week, that the Apple Card savings account, it turns out it was highly popular. The fact that with iPhone users, the new Apple branded high yield savings saw up to a $990 million, near $1 billion in deposits during its first 4 days of launch. This was quoted by Forbes, which I'm excited to be quoting from, but they had some anonymous sources that did say that. So I can kind of tend to believe it, because there was quite a bit of fanfare when it comes to this because of that 4.15 APY, which is very appealing to most people, and there's no restrictions on how much money you put in to still get that rate. So, what do you think, Ben?
I think that financial services is going to be a major growth area for Apple.
Yeah.
They're essentially taking, banking and turning it into, Apple.
Okay.
God, I worded that completely crap.
What, Appleized? No, Ben, look, I have an English degree. Part of the reason I got that English degree is so that I can make up words. I completely approve of Appleized.
All right.
Yep.
You heard it from Mike.
So spake Mike, so shall it be.
So shall it be. Exactly.
Any thoughts on this, Jeff?
Can you imagine being a bank and saying, hey, we're open now, and then your consumers over the course of less than a week say, here's $1 billion.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Here's my wallet.
And it's just savings accounts. That's all you're doing. Just a savings account. Okay, here's $1 billion. Yeah. If anyone was concerned or skeptical is a better word. If anyone was skeptical that this savings program was going to falter at launch, well, sorry. Looks like this is taking off super fast. Also, the trailer for Silo. Holy forking shirt balls! Why didn't you people tell me about this earlier?
Oh, okay. Meanwhile, in the financial news, we talked about Apple Pay Later financing feature that continues to roll out to iPhone users. So we did say that this was rolling out to select few customers, including me, and I was able to at least set it up. I didn't use it, but I think it's kind of a neat way to be able to make a payment on up to 4 equal payments on over 6 weeks. So for those who don't want to put it on a credit card and pay it off over a year, you could do it this way, and it doesn't do any credit hit by you using this. So the cool thing is that every time you go to purchase something through Apple Pay, it's going to give you an option. Because I've seen it of some items I've gone through and purchased through Apple Pay, or that you have the option to use Pay Later to add that to whatever you set it up. Because it goes from $50 all the way up to $1,000, so you can set it up, and you've got 30 days to use that, and then you can go back and renew it again later. So that's where everybody was seeing this early access banner, which I did. I was surprised. I don't think I'll necessarily use it because I have, like many people, have an Apple Card. So if I wanted to do that, I might as well just do interest free for 12 months as opposed to 6 weeks. So, and I don't have a problem with that in most cases. In fact, I just bought an iPad Mini for my wife, and it was so nice and convenient to be able to take care of that and have a happy wife with her. She's loving her little. She's calling it the little guy, the iPad Mini. So So yeah, it's I don't think there's much else to say about that other than it'll start rolling out soon. And if it's something you want to take advantage of, the great thing about it is it's not going to do no hit on your credit. You can just apply as long as Apple sees that you're credit worthy enough. It should prove pretty much immediately. Unless anybody has anything to add on that, we can go ahead and move on. Firmware upgrades. There was a ton of them this past week. The one that was really notable was the AirPods. Of course, you don't have any clue what this upgrade is doing, like always. So they introduced the 5E135 firmware for the AirPods 2 and the AirPods 3 and the original AirPods Pro, as well as the AirPods Pro 2, which are in my ears, and the AirPods Max. And so it says it doesn't really offer any immediate release notes or what updates it, and plus you can't force update it. You just have to have it connected to your iPhone, and then miraculously it updates. So I guess I could see why Apple doesn't want people poking around in a small little device like an AirPod, that they don't want to know what's causing it. But there were some stories of some distortion issues, because I've another article here that was also related to the Beats buds as well. That there was a vulnerability that could allow a user to attack and gain access to your headphones, which is kind of scary. And they did mention that the AirPods did have a similar type of issue with that as well. So make sure you update them, and make sure as long as you're connecting them to your iPhone, which I think most of us do most of the time, it shouldn't be a problem. You have any thoughts on that, Jeff?
Why won't Apple let us force the update to happen?
That's what I like to know.
Come on. I mean, the only reason I know that the update happened for me was because I already knew that I could go into settings, select my AirPods, scroll to the bottom of the screen, and see what version number I have. And the only reason I knew that was up to date, because it doesn't tell you this is the most recent version, it's because I read articles that listed what that version number was. Come on.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm Mr. Cranky Pants about this one. Which is ironic because, the whole pants thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What do you think, Mike?
Oh, I'm with Jeff 100%. They really should offer a way to force the update on the AirPods. And what really drives it home is this second story about the Beats firmware update that addresses a Bluetooth security issue. And then AirPods are already patched. They never tell us what's in the new firmware updates, and they don't give us an option to update them. So if our AirPods don't update, are we walking around with Bluetooth security issues?
Yes.
That's crazy. We need to have a way to update them, and we need to know why we're updating them. I think that's super important, and there's no excuse for it. I mean, someone is developing this firmware. Someone knows what patches they put in it.
Well, of course they do.
Tell us what's going on so that we can better take care of our equipment.
Yep. This is like developers when they roll out updates, and their update notes are performance improvements and bug fixes.
Oh, that's nuts. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yep. Go ahead, Ben.
Yep. I'd have to say the Beats listed in the article, including the Beats Fit Pro that I'm wearing, are basically AirPods in Beats form. So I think that's a pretty good indication of what the patch is for. I think they're all very related.
Yeah. So, and briefly, I'll talk about another firmware upgrade. They do this as well as to that MagSafe charger, which I absolutely love. Actually, I use it at my bedside every night, and I love the fact that I just slap it onto my MagSafe on my iPhone 14 Pro Max, and it just charges nice and quickly and efficiently. But they have been updating a bunch of doing a couple of updates of firmware for the MagSafe charger as well. Again, no clue why they're doing it and why. And right, Jeff?
On. You're better than this, Apple. No, I want you to be better than this, Apple.
Yeah, and in fact, the MagSafe charger, you have no clue how it updates, when it ever updates, and you don't even. You can't even check it.
I mean, what is? Yeah. I want to know what needs to be updated in the firmware on a freaking charger.
On a charger.
A charger.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. and a wireless charger with no data throughput.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Unless
Yeah.
there is a secret data throughput that Apple's using and there's a security flaw and they're patching that, in which case I really want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think much else we can say about that. And like you said, come on, Apple. Next story here: the NYPD, New York City Police Department, is encouraging New York car owners to install Apple AirTags in cars in order to cut down on car theft in the city. In a tweet that was shared over this past week, the NYPD said that the 21st century calls for the 21st century policing. I like that, and that that an AirTag in a car will help officers recover a car if it's stolen. And they had a video for car owners on how to get an AirTag and installed in a location in the vehicle where it can't be easily found. And they showed the demonstration on how to do that. And we've been talking about this before. This is an actual New York City Police Department video that they put together. It was on Twitter. So the link's in the show notes here. Interestingly, that the police, I'm sure they're gone by now. New York NYPD was giving away 500 free AirTags. They were available that you could get and put them in your car. What do you think, Ben? This is another interesting way to use an AirTag.
Yes. Actually, because of this very article today, I have a Hyundai, which is one of those on the list. So I today went out to Walmart. I purchased an AirTag, my very first, and an AirTag case. And then I hid it inside the bowels of my vehicle.
There you go. Cheap way to have a tracking device.
Yeah. And then I checked to see if it actually worked.
And did it?
Yes. I mean, if you're one of those like me who have the older Hyundais on the or Kias on the list and don't have the option for that anti-theft upgrade that the newer ones have, get one of these. Get the club.
I'm with you.
Because these vehicles are too easy to steal.
Yeah, they are. Any thoughts on that, Mike?
Just make sure that you tell all your passengers that when they're riding with you, that they're going to get a notification on their phone that says you are being followed by an AirTag, and that they need to make sure to say, "Don't worry about this AirTag anymore." I purchased one. The one and only AirTag I purchased for my father for his dog who keeps getting out and running around the neighborhood. And I said, here's an AirTag. I bought him a special collar to put it in. And he came down here to visit and we were out in a walk and my phone kept going, bleep, you're being followed by an AirTag. Bleep, you're being followed by an AirTag. And so I got this beautiful map on my phone of the walk that we took that day because I didn't set a fitness on my watch, but that's how I get my maps normally. But from the AirTag that was tracking me throughout the neighborhood. Well, it was Frog the dog. That's who was tracking me through the neighborhood.
Frog the dog.
Frog the dog.
Nice.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, Jeff?
Knowing that Apple says AirTags are not for tracking your pets or your cars. Yeah. Okay, great. Now you can track your pets and your cars. The fact that NYPD is doing this and they've made a big deal about it, that's going to have a larger impact on potential car thefts than the AirTags themselves. Because the important thing here is to let potential bad actors know that there's a possibility they're going to be tracked when they steal a car. And it's like when someone gets a home security system and they put the sticker in the window or the sign in the yard, that's doing as much to protect them as the security system is. It's the awareness that this is no longer as easy a target as the house down the street or the cars outside of New York where the cops aren't giving away AirTags.
Yep.
Nope. About $25 and everybody should have one.
Nope, yeah. I agree.
I have AirTags. I have several AirTags. I don't have one in my car, but maybe I'll go buy one and toss it in the car.
Why not? Meanwhile, you were just talking about the unwanted tracking. Another article here from this was in iMore. A couple days ago, Apple and Google announced they're partnering to stop unwanted tracking with AirTags. Apple and Google today announced a new joint proposal for an industry standard specification that will help stop unwanted tracking through devices like AirTags. As we know, what AirTag can do, I don't need to go read through all that for your keys. I use it for my keys, your luggage, your purse, and so on and so forth. This is just a new design that's going to help combat the issue of the misuse of the device for unwanted tracking. And it will allow tracking detection devices like the likes of Tile, Trupolo, and of course Apple's own AirTags. So I think this is a good thing to see that Apple and Google are recognizing this, because security is an utmost performance, right? Don't you think, Jeff?
Yeah, and you know what? Good on Apple and Google for working together to come up with this standard that's going to be open, so all of the tracker companies can take advantage of it, and it eliminates the problem that you have today, where if you want to get a notification on an Android device, if you're being followed by an AirTag, you have to install an app and launch the app and check. This will fix that problem. All these other companies that are showing interest in participating in this, good on them. However, Tile saying, yes, we're very interested in this. You know what? Screw those guys. They started all this, and they showed no interest in offering security for their customers at all. And it wasn't until the AirTag came out, and all of a sudden now that's a thing. Mm-hmm. And they waited over a year after the AirTags came out before they started doing anything for protection and privacy. Come on, people. And now they're saying, hey, yeah, we're interested in that. You know what, Tile? You should have done this years ago. You should have been the industry leader, and you should have created that open standard for everyone else.
Yeah,
they're interested in saving their behinds.
Yeah, we shouldn't be talking about this. They should have had this.
I really am Mr. Cranky Pants tonight.
You are, but it makes it fun. You guys have any other thoughts about that before we move on? No, Mike or Ben?
Nope. I can't say anything more that Jeff already didn't say.
Yeah, I think Jeff did a good job summing it up here. Next story: iTunes Music Store has turned 20 this past week. The 20th anniversary of Apple launching the iTunes Music Store, allowing Mac users to download music for just 99 cents a song. Remember that? There was always the big excitement. You could buy a song for 99 cents. They had, at that time, 200,000 songs. Oh my God, that's a lot of songs. Well, what do they have now? 2 million
all
songs?
Of them?
Yeah, basically all of them. Yeah.
And you got to listen to a 30-second preview. And of course, they had that wonderful security in place where you couldn't play the song anywhere with the protection. That really was where it started the whole music thing on a Mac, and then of course expanded onto your iOS device at that point. And of course, the iTunes name is kind of drifted off into the sunset, except for Windows. But yeah, Apple Music wouldn't be here what it is today if we hadn't had iTunes. I mean, we all loved iTunes. I liked all the scripts and all the things you could do to manipulate your playlists, and all the backing up of your apps and backing up all your songs, and that was a different
CDs.
And your CDs, you're ripping your CDs, and it was a different world back then. What do you think, Ben?
I think this was the death of beginning of the end for physical media.
Yeah.
Apple. Yeah. I mean, Apple, we all talk about the iPod, the iPhone. This is where Apple innovated possibly the highest. They completely changed the way that music was purchased and consumed.
Yeah. No, there's no question about that. So, but like I said, I think we're in a better place now. Any thoughts, Mike?
No, just to build on what Ben said, they changed the way music was purchased, but not for altruistic reasons. They changed it to sell more hardware. That's why they changed the way music was purchased. Why Steve Jobs pushed the music industry to change the way that music is purchased was to sell more hardware. Ultimately, it turned out to be a great thing all around, and not just for selling hardware. But yeah, I mean, that was the original reason.
Yep, absolutely. Last story, I'm just going to move on here. The downfall of Brydge. And the iPad keyboard company just folds, no pun intended, and leaves staff unpaid and customers' orders unfulfilled.
That's a shame.
It was once a thriving company, and it was a great startup. I mean, I really was a big fan of these guys. I actually saw them a couple of years ago when I was at CES, and then interviewed them. And unfortunately, the employees haven't been paid since January, and the customers who pre-ordered their most recent product have been left in the dark as well. And the website has gone completely offline. If you go to their website right now, all you see is the big Brydge logo, and that's it. Can't go anywhere. So it's kind of sad. The Brydge Pro Plus was a great keyboard device for the iPad. It's a crowded market, no question about it. You had Logitech and Apple, of course, having their own products, and many others. So it's just going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm sure if they hadn't already filed for bankruptcy, they're probably going to be doing that. And unfortunately, the customers are the ones that have the rotten thing that they have to deal with, and waiting to see if they can get their money back. So, what do you think, Jeff?
This just sucks all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So I haven't followed Brydge's products very closely lately.
No.
Were they not doing anything in the Android space?
I don't think so.
Because it seems to me like if you're making keyboard cases for tablets, and that you're having to compete directly with Apple, why would you not start making cases for Android devices? I mean, yes, there's a whole wide range of things, but you could pick specific, like Samsung tablets, make these for Amazon's Fire tablets. Pick a few Android tablets and make it.
Or even Windows tablets like the Surface.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, this just sucks, and it's sad to see this part of the competition go. It sucks for the employees. It sucks for customers who apparently are out money and out of product.
Yeah, it is.
This is just sad all the way around.
Very sad. Any other comments, guys? We move off the news.
Yeah, I will say this. It is sad that this company has folded. I feel really bad for the employees, but for the people running the company, this leaves a really sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
They knew this was happening. Apparently, they chose to save themselves over their employees and their customers.
Yeah, seems it.
Yeah, that's a crap move right there.
Yeah.
Yep. So, R.I.P. Brydge. We missed. We knew you. We liked you, but it's a sad. So, let's go ahead and move on. So the topics for this week. Apple actually did the first release of their security response update. It was the very first time that everybody in the whole world that's running 16.4 iOS was able to experience it, and we all experienced it. I seem to remember, Jeff, you posted something in social media, on Mastodon or Twitter, saying that it was kind of quirky. That was your first impression to this?
That's a nice way to put it. Yeah. As far as I can tell, there was a server side bug on Apple's part, where when the update went to validate itself, it would fail and reply back saying that you don't have an internet connection. Try again later. Mm-hmm. And I'd say like 90 minutes, 2 hours later, the problem was fixed. And so anyone that updated after that happened, they were fine. But not everyone was hit with this problem. So some people were able to install the update right away.
Mhm.
I was doing the security response test updates with betas, and that always worked fine.
Right.
I just assumed the first time we experienced it as a public release, because we'd been testing this for months and months already, it would go smoothly. Apparently not, but they got that bug worked out and got it worked out quickly. So any future updates like this hopefully will go much smoother.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this? I mean, it's just like any other security update. It's a quicker update. You don't have to go through a whole .1 release of a security update anymore. So they can quickly respond to a security patch. That they always complain that Apple takes their time to patch these holes that people find. So
yeah, we've had so many tests on the beta that I didn't realize this was the first one in the wild.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
same.
Yeah, that's true. So make sure, if you haven't already updated, please make sure you do it, because it's definitely going to protect you from any holes, malware, or anything like that. So, other thing I wanted to mention for 16.4.1 is there was a Siri bug that won't let you set the calendar events on the 31st. An alleged bug that was impairing users being able to rely on their voice to set calendar appointments. When you attempt to use your voice. So you'd use Siri to create an event that was on the 31st, it would automatically revert to the 30th of the month, and they couldn't correct the mistake with their voice. I believe they say that the mistake is easily fixed, but you must open the calendar app to manually edit the appointment date. Apple support teams have been reportedly acknowledged of this known problem, and it's an exclusive to 16.4.1. 16.5 beta isn't affected by this issue. So haven't seen anything else announced by Apple that this is going to be fixed anytime soon. So I know it's not a earth-shattering bug, but it's more of an annoyance than anything else.
It's a big problem every other month.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, April was a 30-day month. If this had happened towards the end of May, that would have been a giant pain in the butt.
How many of us are setting appointments through? Yeah, there you go. Mike shaking his head is answering my question.
No, the S Beast doesn't like me. I can't get it to respond for the life of me. I tried twice in the car this morning to ask it to convert, 299 pounds to dollars. Just completely ignored me.
Mm-hmm.
My wife does the exact same thing. No problem. Here you go. Here's the answer. Nope.
Yeah.
The only thing the S Beast will do for me is set a timer. That's all I can ever get it to do. If I ever ask it for any valuable information, nada. So trusting it to set a calendar event for me, no, not going to do it.
Yeah. So, another bug. What are we going to do? It'll be fixed when we get 16.5. Speaking of 16.5,
so you say.
Yeah, we say. But speaking of 16.5, Beta 4 came out this week, both for the developers and the public. It is now out. The registered developers will be able to get it, and as well as you, if you're a public beta tester, you can get it as well. Really no other changes I can see that we've already talked about. Ben, have you seen anything any different other than it's solid?
It's very solid. It's also a release that ends in an A. So we should be seeing the RC pretty soon.
Yeah, well, we're only a month away from WWDC, so they're probably going to want it released before then. So then they're ready to start focusing.
Unless it includes little surprises that relate to announcements at WWDC, in which case it will drop after the keynote.
That's true.
Yeah. Or things prior to WWDC.
Yeah, that is true.
Mm-hmm.
I'll also mention Mac OS Ventura 13.4 is out, Beta 4, as well as tvOS 16.5 and Watch OS 9.5. Nothing earth-shattering about those updates at all as well. I tend to stay away. Well, actually, I now have a beta tested for a beta Apple TV, so I've been playing with that because I wanted to try that grid view for being able to watch the multiple sports games. Like you could watch the MLS soccer and the Friday Night Baseball. So that was kind of a fun thing to play with. But beyond that, Apple TV really never has huge updates, as we know. So a couple other things I want to talk about with CarPlay. CarPlay has obviously been in the news. We've had some passionate discussions about this and the fact of GM walking away from supporting CarPlay when we know how all that is. Well, it's nice to see that at least Ford is committed officially to say we are retaining Apple CarPlay functionality for the foreseeable future. So they are going to continue on with their Apple CarPlay. Joanna Stern actually interviewed the Ford CEO, Jim Farley, about this and the state of this and infotainment systems in vehicles. And, he says the rivals like Tesla and GM know how the companies or decisions affect the customers. And it's always been, questionable why Tesla won't give in, but
Elon Musk. Questionable.
Elon Musk. That's all I got to say. So it's a shame, but like I said last week, the article we talked about, 800 vehicles are out there that support CarPlay. I think the population is pretty satisfied with finding one vehicle that will meet their needs and be able to continue to have CarPlay. Guys, any comments on that?
Yeah, Ford is pretty clearly positioning itself to CarPlay buyers.
Mm-hmm. Ford didn't have any intention of dropping CarPlay. So by coming out with their announcement, hey, we're continuing to support CarPlay, they are clearly letting GM customers know where they should buy their next car.
Yeah. Yep. GM basically threw up a layup for Ford and they dunked.
Yep. And I love that Apple gave GM a big FU by making a webpage that says, "Hey, look at all these great cars that are out there that support CarPlay."
That was great that they did that. So, I won't go through it. There's a great article again that 9to5Mac did on apps, the great apps, and we've talked about that before. So I don't think we really need to dive into that much. But notable, another article is VLC is now available for CarPlay. And I'm like, that's interesting. Isn't that for video? Oh no, it's going to be for your audio playback.
Right.
Which VLC does a very good job of playing audio files. So now they've got a CarPlay app that allows you to easily access your audio files while you're driving, rather than using the iPhone app when you're behind the wheel. So I'm ready to update this and try it out. Looks like it's a pretty cool way to be able to listen to your music using a completely different app than using the Apple Music or any other music type apps that are out there. So
here's the thing: VLC supports FLAC and other formats that your iPhone and CarPlay wouldn't support natively. Right. So if you're doing a lot of high res with FLAC, here you go. Now you've got it in your car.
Well, this has to make you happy, Jeff.
Yeah, I think this is great.
Yeah, and it's open source. Which
granted,
is great about VLC.
Your car is not the best place for listening to
True.
Audio, but cool.
Yeah,
exactly.
Make sure you listen to those FLAC tracks with your windows down. That helps.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes, it does.
Okay. A couple of more topics here I wanted to hit on. ChatGPT has just been the rage. I don't think there's a day that goes by I'm hearing something that's talked about AI and ChatGPT. So, but there is a client that's currently in beta testing on your iPhone. It will now work on your iPhone. I've got an article here in the show notes that talks about it. It is called MLC LLM. It's an open source project that was developed by a team called MLC AI, who have taken on ChatGPT and refocused it on a local device. So it is in test flight. So there's a link in the article that you actually can join and try it out. And it is a local ChatGPT. So it's stored locally, so you can do some ChatGPT inquiries on your iPhone. I've tried it. I tried a couple things and I compared it to how ChatGPT is on the web, and they think they got a little ways to go. There was a lot of stuff I typed in that it didn't know what I was talking about. So, but hey, it's worth checking out. It's free, and you can go into test flight and beta test if you want. Any thoughts, Jeff?
Yes. And I'm not going down the path that you're probably thinking I'm going down. Okay, so this news to me is backing up the concern that Google has. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a link to the article in front of me, and I'm sorry. But okay. I read an article in the past couple days where internal documents from Google were leaked, where they were talking about the whole LLM market space, and what Google was saying was that Google and OpenAI are not in a position to be able to block or out compete the open source LLM platforms that we have and that are going to come. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge concern for them. This whole thing with ChatGPT being able to work on your iPhone, and then have it work offline as well, even though it kind of sucks today. Mm-hmm. This just underscores the concern that Google has. There are companies out there that are working with LLM data, and they're building platforms that you can just take and have on your personal computer, on your smartphone, and there's, at least currently, no way that OpenAI and Google can compete with this.
Yep. Oh, I definitely agree with that. Guys, any other thoughts on that? All right. Let's talk about no more passwords. Google announced today that they're saying so long passwords and thanks for all the fish. They did announce that you no longer need a password to sign into your Google account. Their next step in the passwordless future is here by using passkeys. I haven't tried it yet, but it's very similar to what Apple's already been working on with the passkey support. I think this is exciting. I mean, I think all of us get tired of having to remember put passwords in all the time. And if this is as secure as they say it is, I'm all for it. I want to try it out. This just got announced. It was just yesterday. I hadn't had the chance to try it yet. But Mike, what do you think? For passwords, would you be using something like this to not have to put your password anymore?
Oh, I don't think I'll have a choice at some point. My I guess when I do eventually set out to try this, I'm going to want to try it with a Google or Apple account, because I do have a few of those too. Right. That it doesn't matter to me because I want to make sure that if I can't get into it somehow, that
True.
I can write it off and cool, no problem. My question, I've never really looked into how passkeys work that thoroughly, but what happens when you have multiple devices of various vintages and you switch to something like, passkeys for your Google account, and you now have a Mac that doesn't have any kind of biometric? Does it revert then back to a password? Do you still have a password to fall back on? Mm-hmm. Do you have, how does that work? That's what I want to know. Does it fall back on an authenticator? What happens when you are trying to sign in from a device that doesn't support the passkeys and or isn't your device? Then what happens? That's what I'd like to know.
One Password, they have a really good article about passkeys and using them with devices that aren't your own, and using passkeys with multiple devices.
But isn't that then 1Password is then on this, right?
Yeah. But so in this case, it would be 1Password. So that would be your platform. However, the things that they talk about they're also talking about the overall concepts. So what they're doing, they're also explaining just how the whole passkey thing works with just in general.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, for devices with biometrics that weren't the one you signed up on, I just tested it and it works perfectly. I set it up on my iPhone.
How is that information synced, Ben? I mean, if I'm syncing my information via Apple's keychain, which I presume is how it's syncing, and now I'm going to another device, and obviously I'm not logged into that device, I don't have access to my keychain. How is it authenticating me through biometrics?
I would assume there's some kind of token that's passed to the computer. I'm not entirely sure. All I know is I logged into Google. It asked me to use my Touch ID on my Mac, and it signed me right in.
And it wasn't your Mac.
Oh, it was my Mac, but it was I created the pass key on my iPhone.
Yeah. So if I'm understanding correctly, and keep in mind, I have not made the jump into passkeys yet because when I first thought about it, there were some showstoppers for me. But like you have your biometric authentication on your phone, so then it asks for you to authenticate through your phone, and then that way you're sidestepping the fact that it's not your computer. And it doesn't have any of your biometric data or passkeys for that computer. This is also why I've debated, should I get a YubiKey or a similar device for passkeys, and would that be a better way to go? And the answer for me right now is I don't know.
Yeah.
I use it for work. I'm showing it on camera here. There's my YubiKey, and it's interesting, to say the least, how we use it. But I was tempted to get one, and they're not terribly expensive, where you can set it up. But then I also worry you lose it, and you want to make sure that you have it set up properly and all that. The good thing at work, if I were to lose this thing, I have the Microsoft Authenticator app to fall back on, so I can still sign in using Microsoft Authenticator too. So you have to set that up as a backup because, like any physical key, and as you see, I keep it on a keychain with, of course, my AirTag there, that you want to make sure that you are backing up, having a backup way of being able to sign in. It's kind of like using the fingerprint reader on a PC. They use it when Microsoft uses Windows Hello, and you're using Face ID, on an iPhone, or Face ID on a Windows machine. You can as well. That you don't have to do that. And then Windows has also used a PIN, where you can have a PIN way of just using a PIN as opposed to a password. I'm not so always overly excited about using that as I am, with the fingerprint reader like we have on Macs. But it's definitely something to explore. And I agree with you, Mike. You definitely want to use it on an account you don't care about at first, or even create a dummy account to try it at first.
I'm good at playing the dumb guy. I'm really good at that. And this is one area where I definitely have to play the dumb guy because I just haven't looked into it that much. And that's why I'm asking these questions, because these are the thoughts that come to my mind. Okay, so I'm not creating any sort of thing I can recover, right? I mean, other than me. So how, what happens and what goes on when I'm trying to use a computer that doesn't support these things, or I don't have my phone, or I don't have, so these are all just questions that are floating through my mind because I, again, classic dumb guy here when it comes to this topic. But yeah, I think I like Jeff's idea. We'll check out that 1Password article and read up on it a little bit more.
I put that in the show notes because they also announced along with Google that they're going to be supporting Google's.
Yeah, they did.
Good.
Yeah.
You went and found that while you're talking, and
I'm amazing.
You're really good. You're setting a pretty high bar here, Dave. You need to start slacking off.
So two quick things I experienced this week I wanted to talk about. As I mentioned earlier, I got my wife an iPad mini, but the reason we went into the Apple store was because she continually was complaining about her iPhone, and of course, she has to have a pop socket on her phone, so it drives me crazy. So she can't use, like I'm showing here on camera, the MagSafe charging, which I absolutely love. Yeah. So
doesn't
what does she have to do?
Socket make a MagSafe case?
They do.
Yes, they do.
And I've tried to get her to buy it. And no.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, her and her other siblings, they are all on the pop socket, and they want to have that thing that pops out so they can have the lip balm in the back and all that stuff. So you know how it goes. But they have to hold it like this. That's what,
if it makes them happy,
it does. It does.
That's there you go. That's all that really matters.
The reason I brought this up because, of course, now she has to use the Lightning port to charge her phone every night. And we bought we were buying new cables. I did go in and I actually cleaned it out. It's not too hard to do, but there's sometimes that dust gets in there pretty good that you don't even see it, even if I'm using a magnifier. So we brought in the Apple, and sure enough, he did find another little chunk of dust in there that was causing it to not do a good connection, and it would be going doo-doo, doo-doo, when you're charging it. So, but it was a good excuse to get her an iPad mini. So, and leading into that, it also was a good excuse for me to buy another watch band because, so of course I absolutely love the solo loop, the braided solo loops. They're my favorite. And, I've got this one. Like I'm holding 3 of them here. Am I crazy? But I found this to be interesting. First off, this is the Abyss Blue band. Apple doesn't sell this anymore. It was very irritating. And so I ended up finding a new one on eBay for $30. It was brand new. So what was I doing? Of course, spent $90 for this one. This is the gray black one. So I just found it to be interesting, and I'm showing on camera here that the original band I had, the Abyss Blue, was getting really big on me, and I'm thinking, wait, did I lose a lot of weight? I didn't think so. My wrist isn't that small, but I'm showing this on camera here, but I'll take a picture of it and put it in the show notes. But if you notice here, I got the bands up to next to each other. Wow. This is a size 10. The one on the back is the blue one, which I was wearing. Mm-hmm. And then the new one right there is in the front there. That's the gray color. That's how long it's supposed to be. It stretched almost an inch, which I found crazy. How could this stretch that far on a watch band? So kind of beware of yourself, because this is not exactly a cheap band. You pay full price, it's $99. So, but of course I have no recourse because I've had this thing this is from the Series 7, so I've had it close to 2 years, so they're not going to do anything for me. So, but that's okay. But I know what I was fine getting this gray one. I was going to give into it, but then I thought to myself, maybe I should go on eBay, and sure enough, I had to go buy this one for $30.
At $30, having it stretch out and have to replace it every couple of years would still piss me off. Yeah, but I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
But at $100, no.
Yeah. Like Ben and I were talking a pre-show. We all have like tons of bands, and I probably should go back and look at my collection. I probably have 30 of them at least.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a known flaw with that particular band.
Yeah. Apparently so. I didn't realize it, but I had it for a while. But yeah, it's nice and snug now. I'm happy again. It's not moving. It's not moving down my arm, and I got my color back, so I'm happy.
Well, as long as you're happy, I mean, seriously, that's what matters.
It is.
What matters is the takeaway from the story, Jeff. The takeaway from the story is that if you want an excuse to buy an iPad mini, bring your phone to the Apple store with a dirty charging port. That's the takeaway.
You know what?
And I think I have a show title too. A dirty port buys an iPad mini.
There you go.
There's my show title. So that's about what we have for this week. I thought we had a great show here, but before we go here, Mike Potter's here, and we also have to have you tell everybody about MacStock coming up in July.
Oh, yes. That is happening, isn't it? Yes, it's coming up pretty darn quickly too. We're about 80 days away from it, maybe even a little less now. from MacStock. I know it feels like just the other day we were 90 days and 120 days, but now we're about 80 days away from MacStock, July 22nd and 23rd. And we've turned it up to 11. I don't know if we had done that by the time I was on here last time, but we now have 11 presenters at MacStock this year, plus 2 special presentations. We have not only Wally Chewinski's MacStock Short Film Festival, which I'm excited for. I hope we get a lot of great submissions for that. But we also have Mac Geek Cab is taking the stage live Saturday afternoon. So that's going to be cool too.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great things going on for MacStock, and I'm excited for it. And plus some announcements that are going to be coming out. I got a couple T's to cross and some I's to dots and things like that, but probably some announcements coming out next week. So
okay. And when's the dates and where is it?
July 22nd and 23rd. It is, it's MacStock. It's in Woodstock, Illinois. And it's going to be Saturday, Sunday, running from roughly 9 o'clock. We'll be taking the stage until about 5 in the afternoon each day. Have lunch midday, and maybe we'll do some evening activities too. So be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Yeah.
Definitely going to be a blast. So thanks all of you guys for being here, and please go to MacStockConferenceandExpo.com and sign up. We're waiting for you.
Down to a handful of tickets left, by the way.
There you go. They're selling fast. So before I close out the show, I want to give out a shout out. We did have a donation this week through Buy Me a Coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. A shout out to Phil, who actually works at my company, and he was very kind enough to buy me 5 coffees this week. So thank you for doing that, Phil. That was very generous. Very generous of you, Phil, and I'm glad you enjoy the show. And if Kelly's listening, he does like Kelly's laugh. So
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? That's right. So let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios, as well as on Mastodon @intouchwithios. You can support the show by buying me a coffee, as I just said, like Phil did, at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You also can become a patron of the show if you so choose by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you are notified when we are live streaming, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch the live shows. You can watch back the live shows. We leave those up there so you can watch all the crazy antics we do, as well as listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the articles we discuss are flipped into the magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can also subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including the Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. I'm also on Twitter at DaveG65. Mike Potter, thank you so much again for being here and being a guest on the show. We really appreciate it. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, I don't have anywhere near as much stuff to share with folks at the moment, but people can find me at formaceyeesonly.com or at MacStockConferenceandExpo.com. And of course, you'll find me on Mastodon at formaceyeesonly at tooting.ninja or at MacStockExpo at tooting.ninja. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. And Jeff Gamet, always a pleasure as always for you being here. Where can people find you?
Well, how about Jay Gamet on Mastodon and Instagram? And then for shows, well, Chuck Joyner keeps letting me back on Mac Voices Live on Tuesdays. And you keep letting me back on here on In Touch with iOS on Thursdays. Yep. Also, I'm your interim host on the Big Show on Thursdays and the Mac Show on Fridays, both on the British Tech Network. And then Brian Chaffin and I do the Context Machine. And also, it occurred to me that Kelly's laugh is a Voight-Kampf test. And if it doesn't make you happy, then you have to be a replicant.
There you go. Thank you, Jeff. And last but certainly not least, Ben Roethig, thanks so much for being here. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, you can find me at Ben Roethig on your social media of choice. I'm pretty much on all of them except for that new Blue Sky thing. I haven't checked that out yet. You can also find me at Roethig.tech and all the shows that Jeff is on except for MacCon, the now just context machine.
Mm-hmm. And it's
All
nothing
right.
against you, Ben. It's just a two-guy show.
Habit.
Yeah.
It's a two-guy show. Two great guys. All right, and thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. We enjoyed doing it, and we'll talk to you next week.